Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment and informational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed in this video are those of the creator and do not necessarily reflect the views of any organization. The creator of this video is not responsible for any errors or omissions, or for any actions taken based on the information presented in this video. Viewer discretion is advised. In the previous episode, we mentioned that German scientists, as well as scientists from other fascist countries like Italy, had concerns about Germany being the first nation to develop an atomic bomb. This apprehension led them to seek refuge in the United States. Indeed, when President Roosevelt received this news, they immediately began seeking military or trusted technical advisory groups to assess the feasibility of the project. While it was confirmed that uranium could be used to create a bomb with significantly greater power than any existing weapons, progress was not rapid due to limited funds. Only small-scale technological and theoretical research could be conducted. It wasn't until the day after President Roosevelt formally announced the start of the Manhattan Project, on December 7, 1941, that Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. One can imagine why Japan would launch the Pearl Harbor attack at that particular time, just after the official announcement of the Manhattan Project. In reality, whether the Roosevelt administration had prior knowledge of Japan's impending attack on Pearl Harbor remains a subject of debate. When President Roosevelt signed the order to officially initiate the Manhattan Project, the military took charge of coordinating and planning, and the entire project had top priority. One can imagine the magnitude of the project. With a total budget reaching $2.2 billion and approximately 130,000 people directly involved in its implementation. As I mentioned before, initially, they didn't know what they were working on and had no knowledge that they were researching atomic bombs. They had to perform disconnected tasks because almost everyone had to sign secrecy agreements upon employment. If they leaked any information or plans they knew, they could face up to 10 years of imprisonment or fines. Therefore, the development, production, and construction of the Manhattan Project had to be spread across various locations, including the United Kingdom and Canada, apart from the United States. Over 30 sites were involved in the research. However, the most crucial aspect of manufacturing the atomic bomb was the selection of decision-makers. Eventually, the U.S. military chose Robert Oppenheimer as the most suitable candidate. However, at that time, the Military Intelligence Department believed that Oppenheimer had left-leaning tendencies and sympathy towards communism, so they opposed his involvement in the Manhattan Project. It was only due to General Grove's insistence that Oppenheimer was able to participate in the project. However, he knew that Oppenheimer was a genius in many fields and recognized his exceptional organizational and managerial skills. The Manhattan Project established a fully enclosed laboratory in Los Alamos in October 1942. In less than half a year, the team led by Oppenheimer consisted of over 30 top scientists and hundreds of engineering technicians. By 1945, the team had expanded to 6,000 people, with over 1,000 scientists. Oppenheimer not only understood every aspect of the project but also coordinated the resolution of conflicts and issues between scientists and the military. In less than 3 years, from 1942 to 1945, they successfully developed the atomic bomb. This was an extraordinary achievement, especially considering that Germany had already been largely defeated in Europe while Japan continued to resist stubbornly. Ultimately, the atomic bomb was first dropped on Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, followed by Nagasaki 3 days later, resulting in Japan's surrender during that period. The Manhattan Project also became exposed because of the use of these two atomic bombs. But also because of this reason, at that time in the United States, Oppenheimer had already become a widely recognized scientist. However, Due to the immense destructive power of the atomic bomb, he actually started to hope for global restrictions on the use of nuclear. At that time, Oppenheimer had a conversation with President Truman, expressing his regret and feeling that his hands were stained with blood due to his involvement in the creation of the atomic bomb. After listening to Oppenheimer, President Truman became angry and responded by saying, "It's not your concern. The blood is on my hands. Let me worry about this, and you shouldn't be troubled." As a result, Oppenheimer returned to California and continued his teaching and research work. Throughout the journey, his mood remained poor, and he was even somewhat despondent. A year later, further nuclear tests were conducted on Bikini Atoll, an atoll in the Pacific Ocean. Oppenheimer was invited to witness the tests, but he chose to decline. Oppenheimer wrote a letter to President Truman, hoping to further prevent the development of nuclear weapons. However, Truman completely disregarded his request and even mocked Oppenheimer, considering him a crying scientist. Subsequently, in 1947, Oppenheimer became an advisor to the United States Atomic Energy Commission. His responsibilities were limited to the development and use of nuclear weapons. He strongly opposed further research on more powerful hydrogen bombs, which was related to the backdrop of the Cold War. Due to these reasons, Oppenheimer faced ostracism throughout the United States, particularly in the scientific research field. As McCarthyism rose, Oppenheimer suffered its impact. He was accused of being a member of the American Communist Party and faced allegations. During the Manhattan Project, he attended several hearings. Oppenheimer was humiliated by the officials present at the hearings, and the situation was very distressing. Although the investigations did not find any evidence of treason on his part, he essentially lost all official positions. As a result, he could only continue with his research work. However, Oppenheimer himself was already in a deep state of depression. He had a slight shift when John Kennedy expressed his intention to honor Oppenheimer in the field of physics, particularly with the Fermi Award. However, he did not live to see the award ceremony as Kennedy was assassinated. Subsequently, Lyndon Johnson succeeded him and symbolically presented the award to Oppenheimer as a form of exoneration. However, Oppenheimer's security clearance was revoked, meaning he was barred from participating in research related to national security. He was completely prohibited from engaging in any research projects involving national security. He no longer had the ability to exert any significant influence on U.S. atomic energy policy. I think there's something I'd like to mention. Oppenheimer was falsely accused of being a member of the Communist Party, which was related to the events during the McCarthy era. One of his major issues was facing attacks, particularly concerning his wife, Catherine. Catherine was Oppenheimer's wife, and their relationship was connected to Oppenheimer's graduate student status. They met in 1939, and their relationship was more than just a simple teacher-student connection. Of course, a romantic relationship between a teacher and student was controversial at the time. Most importantly, Catherine was already married at the time. However, in the summer of 1940, after Catherine's divorce from her husband, they officially married. But you should know that Oppenheimer was already Catherine's fourth husband. She had been married 3 times before. As a result, she joined the Manhattan Project. In fact, her membership in the American Communist Party was one of the reasons she faced criticism. That's because she was indeed a member of the American Communist Party. So, even after the war, Oppenheimer's integrity was constantly questioned, both in public and private matters. Therefore, I believe it is important for everyone to understand the circumstances surrounding Oppenheimer and what exactly happened. There are many similar stories that one can take note of. For example, there General Groves, who besides being involved in the Manhattan Project, later oversaw and supervised the construction of the Pentagon. Although he retired as a major general and did not reach the highest position, his involvement in defense-related secrets and activities had a significant impact. So, besides Oppenheimer, it would be interesting for everyone to pay attention to the roles and identities of other individuals involved. It may uncover fascinating aspects of the story. The time for this episode has arrived again, and the Manhattan Project will continue in the next episode. Please stay tuned. Thank you for watching.